Kids cheat. Kids have always cheated. Kids are always going to cheat. The problem is, now in the age of generative AI, it's a lot easier to cheat. So we could, on one hand, say, kids, you may not use AI, and they're just going to hide it from us. Or we could redesign our assignments to prevent them from using AI in the first place. We're going to look at 5 different categories, 5 different types of assignments that require the student to do the work, prevent them from outsourcing the work, and helping us to understand what they know and can do. And we're going to get AI to help us to create those assignments. So, number 1 is what we call a performance task, which means they have to learn something and then perform or demonstrate it in the classroom. I'm going to spend a bit more time on this particular prompt because it's going to be the template for the follow-ups. So we're going to go through this one carefully, and then we're going to kind of zip through the rest of them. All right, performance task. I teach. And then here is where you're going to put in something about your kids and the content area. So whatever we need to know about your specific students, that's where it goes. And then we are studying. Here is the topic for the assignment. You could just as easily drop in a content standard there, or you can just say what the topic is. Now, those are the parts you modified. The rest you're going to use as is. Here's the problem. I am concerned about students using AI to cheat on their assignments. All right, aren't we all? What do we want? I want to ensure that students are learning and not outsourcing their learning to AI. And how are we going to go about this? And here is the type of task. I want to give them a performance task. And now we're going to define what we mean by a performance task. They must demonstrate their skills and knowledge by using them in the classroom. Frankly, if we're going to use it for assessment in particular, or pretty much any kind of an assignment, once it goes out the door, we don't know who does it. Now, you're going to see some examples that can only be done in the classroom and only the student can do. But in many cases, if they're taking it out the door, we just don't know. So we want to do this in the classroom. All right, so we've given the type of task, we've defined what we mean, and now we're going to address what types of student-specific skills we want to have included. Things that only the student can do and cannot be passed off to AI. Here it's reasoning, decision-making, and explanations. And what do we want from our AI? We want suggest and justify options for the assignments. And what it's going to give us is a bunch of good options to choose from. So we're going to run just this first one so you can see what type of output that we get. And I've done this a lot of different ways, a lot of different times. The format changes, but it's always going to have a couple of things the same. It's going to tell us what the task is and describe it, and it's going to tell us why it's going to prevent AI use. So what do we have here? We've got the title of the assignment. We've got the specific task over here. And we've got a little explanation of why this minimizes AI outsourcing. Oh, this is nice. What it reveals about student learning. Nice, very nice. Okay, so we've got a bunch of options. Now, that's type 1. Let's take a look at type number 2. So first performance tasks, and now application and transfer. Basically, through the learning process, show me how you can use the information. Apply it to a new situation, apply it to your personal life, apply it to something unique to you. The AIs cannot do that for the student because the AI doesn't know the student's particular context. Or you give them the context in class, and only the student is going to be able to respond to it. Okay, so all the same stuff at the top, but here we're going to say application task, which is defined as Use or apply knowledge in a new, authentic way in the classroom. Now, the student-specific skills, the task should include interpretation, analysis. Oh, what did I just do? There we go. Or extending the content to a new context. And again, suggest and justify options. So that is number 2. Hi, David Bowman here. If you are enjoying this video and these techniques, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, if you are a school administrator or a PD lead and you're looking for some support for your staff to make the most effective use of AI within the learning environment, feel free to give us a call or send us an email. We'd love to talk to you about how we can work together to make sure that your staff is using AI effectively to meet the learning needs of kids. Now, back to the video. The third type of task is a production task. Basically, we're learning stuff. Now, make something. So, all the same stuff at the top up there, but we're going to say we want a production task, which we define as produce something in the classroom that demonstrates understanding. The student-specific skills include construction of meaning through representation, demonstrate the conceptual understanding and the skills and knowledge, great stuff, organization, synthesis, or transforming the knowledge into new formats, and then suggest and justify options. AIs cannot do this. They can't actually create something. They can do a final product, but the ability to apply knowledge into a new and personal context is something that the AI cannot do, which means the student has to do it. All right, so that's number 3. Number 4 is what we call a metacognition task. And of all these different options, this is the one that simply makes it impossible to use AI. From an assessment standpoint, it's a little slower, but it's also the strongest model for actually knowing what students know and can do. All right, metacognition, thinking about thinking, right? Tell me about your thinking. So all the same stuff, metacognition task, they must explain their thinking, their reasoning, and their choices. So the AI might produce a final product, but then the student won't be able to explain the thinking and the reasoning to get to that final product, which means only the student can do it. If the student tries to pass this off to AI, the student will not be able to perform the assignment because they won't be able to do this on behalf of the AI. Only the student can do it, and the AI can't do it for them. Very, very strong. They should include reflection, justification, and defending their personal interpretation or ideas about the content, something only the student can do. So that is type number 4. Type number 5 is what we call an iterative or multi-stage task. Basically, we're going to do it in steps. We're going to do it in a series. Maybe at the end you've got a product, but you're going to submit all of the steps along the way. Or at each point along the process, we're going to submit and we're going to review. AIs are very good at the final product. They're not good at all about this, for producing the evidence to show the process to get there. All right, so all the same stuff, multi-stage task, which we define as completing their work with multiple checkpoints or stages for review. And because there's a lot of ways to go about this, we're going to say may as opposed to should. They may include portfolios, process portfolios, show me all the pieces. They may include check-ins, collaboration with other students, or the developmental sequence. And then again, suggest and justify assignments. So if you're looking for a more complex demonstration something that cannot be done on the spot, but needs to take place over time, this is the prompt to use to create those particular assignments. So there you go. 5 different types of assignments to prevent students from cheating, to help them learn, and to help us to understand what they know and are able to do. I hope you found this useful. Take care.